The visitor placed one faded hospital bracelet on Marcus Reed's kitchen table and whispered, "Your name was never Marcus." His grown daughter froze beside the sink. A deputy outside kept knocking harder, demanding the visitor be handed over. What kind of stranger knows the birthmark on a man's shoulder? Why would an old county file say he died 34 years ago? And why was a respected family charity so desperate to keep one sealed box unopened? Marcus had spent his life teaching his daughter to stand steady when people judged them. But that night, the secret he had buried inside himself began knocking louder than the law at his door. Stay until the end, because one quiet father's past was about to expose an entire town. The plastic bracelet stopped spinning beside the sugar bowl. Marcus Reed kept one hand on Lena's chair and the other flat against the kitchen table. Rain tapped the window over the sink. The old heater clicked, pushed out dusty warmth, then died again. Jonah Price sat across from him with his coat buttoned to his throat. He was 68, narrow-shouldered, his white hair combed too carefully for hands that would not stop shaking. "Say that again," Lena said. Jonah kept his eyes on Marcus. "Your name was Caleb Warren." A hard knock hit the front door. Lena's spoon chimed. Marcus looked at the faded bracelet, at the black letters pressed into the plastic. Warren, Caleb. "That isn't possible," Lena whispered. "Dad?" Marcus could smell soap, wet wool, and burned toast. "Who sent you here?" Marcus asked. "No one. That is why I waited until dark." Another knock, louder. "Marcus Reed," a man called from the porch. "Open the door." Jonah's fingers closed around his hat. "That's Vance." "You know him?" Lena asked. "I know who comes when certain files wake up." Porch light cut under the door, broken by boots outside. The house felt too small. The crooked family photo on the refrigerator, Lena's shoes by the mat, every ordinary thing trapped inside that knocking. "Dad," Lena said. "What file?" Marcus lifted the bracelet. It was lighter than a paperclip. Still, something behind his ribs tightened like an old lock. "I don't know yet." The third knock came with the side of a fist. "You have a witness in there who removed county property." Jonah shut his eyes. Marcus noticed it. Not surprise. Recognition. "He's an old man," Lena said. "He came to the wrong house." "He came to the right one," Jonah said. Marcus placed the bracelet in front of Lena. "Take a picture." "What?" "Now." Her thumb missed the camera icon once. The phone made a soft shutter sound. Outside, Deputy Harold Vance moved close enough for his shadow to cover the mail slot. "Last chance, Reed." Jonah pulled out an envelope. "There was a nurse. She wrote this before she died." "You thought wrong," Marcus said. "I have thought wrong for 34 years." Lena looked from the envelope to the baby picture on the refrigerator. It showed Marcus at 30, holding her in a yellow hospital blanket. No pictures existed before that. "Dad," she said, "why don't we have photos of you as a kid?" Fire. Moving around. Things get lost. Those answers had lived here for years. This time, Marcus did not reach for one. The doorbell rang once, sharp and impatient. Marcus slid the envelope beneath the sugar bowl. "Lena, stay behind me." "No." He looked at her, asking for one more second before the floor gave way. Marcus walked to the door. The wood was cold under his palm. When he opened it 6 inches, Deputy Vance filled the gap. "Evening," Vance said. "Invite me in." Marcus kept the chain on. "Do you have a warrant?" Vance's gaze slid past Lena, straight to Jonah. "You always make simple things difficult?" "Only when people make them unclear." For a moment, the rain was the loudest thing in the house. Then Vance raised a folded paper and tapped it against the doorframe. Read this carefully, Marcus, or whatever name you're using tonight. At 6:45 a.m., the county archive smelled of floor wax, damp cardboard, and coffee burned black on a warmer. Marcus stood on a rolling ladder, tightening a loose bracket under shelf C-19. The screw squealed with every turn. Below him, Clara Bennett pushed a cart with 2 boxes marked "Water Damage," her auburn hair pinned with a pencil. "You're going to strip that thing," she said. "It was stripped before I met it." That is what you say about every broken object in this building. Marcus climbed down. Dust covered his cuffs and the back of his hand. He brushed it off, but a pale trace stayed in the lines of his skin. At the front desk, 2 clerks laughed over a phone screen. One glanced up. "Marcus, basement light is out. Copier's making that dying animal sound." Clara stopped the cart. "Good morning would also work." The clerk's smile thinned. "Morning." Marcus lifted his toolbox. "I'll check both." Near the file cage, old case boxes sat behind wire mesh. A draft slipped under the basement door, cold against his wrist. Marcus paused at donations. One box had sagged open. On the top folder was a date of birth, October 17th, 1992. His hand went still. Clara noticed. "Problem?" "No." He closed the lid. "Bad labeling." Before she could answer, the lobby phone rang twice, stopped, then rang again. In the pattern everyone knew meant the sheriff's office. At 4:18 p.m., Marcus waited outside Briar Falls Community Clinic. Cars hissed through puddles. A leaf stuck to his boot until he scraped it away. Lena came out in navy scrubs, rubbing sanitizer into her hands. 24, tired around the eyes, she still smiled. "You fixed the archive or negotiated a ceasefire?" "Temporary ceasefire." "Did you eat lunch?" He opened the door. "Did you?" "That is a hostile question." Inside the truck, the heater blew cold, then coughed warm air. Marcus noticed the red mark behind her ear from the clinic mask and reached toward it, then stopped. She caught it. "I'm fine." "I know." "No, you don't. You guess and quietly panic." He put the truck in gear. "Efficient system." Her eyes shifted to the flyer on the dashboard. The Mercer Family Trust logo sat above volunteers and a bold line, "Annual Night of Lost Families." "Clara gave you that?" "It was on every desk." "You hate events." "I dislike name tags." "You dislike rooms where people ask questions." Marcus kept both hands on wheel. "Some questions are doors with no room behind them." That is exactly the kind of sentence that makes me worry. "I'll make soup." That is not an answer. It can be, in this house. At home, Lena dropped clinic shoes on the mat. Marcus turned the chipped blue mug handle toward her. She watched him. "You always do that." "What?" "Handle to the right, even when you're upset." "I am not upset." The mail slid through the slot with a dry slap. Lena picked it up. Bills, a grocery circular, and another Mercer flyer. On the back, someone had circled tomorrow night's event in black ink. "Dad!" Marcus took it. No return address, only a smear as if handled with wet fingers. The kitchen quieted around the simmering pot and rain ticking on the window. Marcus folded the flyer once and slipped it behind the old photograph on the refrigerator. The ballroom of Briar Falls Civic Hall glowed with gold light and smelled of lilies, wax, and perfume. Marcus stood near the back wall with a paper cup of water. His name tag read, Marcus Reed, County Archive. One corner peeled away from his jacket. Lena touched it. "Want me to fix that?" "It will survive." "You say that like it has options." Elaine Mercer stepped onto the stage. 48 silver blonde hair in a knot, She wore a cream suit and smiled. "Every missing name deserves to be spoken," Elaine said. "Every child deserves a record that does not disappear." Applause moved through the room like polite rain. Marcus lifted his hands once, late and quiet. Near the side entrance, Deputy Harold Vance laughed with two board members. When his gaze reached Marcus, the laugh stayed on his mouth but left his eyes. Elaine came down after her speech. Her assistant, Noah Carr, followed with a tablet under one arm. He was 33, thin, with shoes too polished for the scuffed floor. Elaine stopped 3 feet from Marcus. For half a second, her face changed. Then she reached out. "Mr. Reed, how kind of the archive to send support." Marcus took her hand. Her palm was cool. "The flyer was on my desk." "Yes, I imagine many things pass through your desk." Lena shifted closer. "I'm Lena, his daughter." Elaine smiled. "Of course. You work at the clinic, don't you?" "We haven't met." "No? Briar Falls is small." Noah's tablet tilted. Marcus saw the tiny camera lens rise, catch his name tag, and lower again. Marcus set his water down. "Your foundation stores old case records with the county?" "Historical partnerships," Elaine said. "Mostly ceremonial. Ceremonial records still have custody rules." Her smile tightened. "How thorough." Vance arrived with a clap on Noah's shoulder. "Careful, Elaine," Vance said. "Archive folks get possessive. Give a man a basement key, and he starts thinking he owns the county." A few guests nearby laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. Lena's cheeks colored. "He keeps your records from rotting." Vance lifted both hands. "No offense. I'm grateful every time someone else wants to live with dust." Elaine raised a hand. "Let's not spoil a night about families." Marcus picked up his water. "Families are usually spoiled by what people refuse to say." Elaine looked directly at him. "Some records are sealed for mercy, Mr. Reed." The string quartet missed a note. Marcus answered quietly. "Mercy should not need a locked cabinet." Noah stepped back. His tablet bumped a vase, and one white lily dropped onto the floor. "You coming to the archive tomorrow?" Vance asked. "I work there." "Good. I might stop by." "Bring a request form." This time, nobody laughed. On the drive home, Lena held the loose name tag in her lap. Rain dragged yellow lines across the windshield. "She knew you," Lena said. "She knew my badge." "No, she knew your face." Marcus did not answer until their block. "Some people look at you like they are remembering a debt." Lena turned the tag over. On the back, pressed into the paper by someone's fingernail, were 4 small numbers. 1027. "Dad, did you write this?" Marcus shut off the engine. The sudden quiet filled the truck. "No." At 7:12 a.m., shelf D-8 groaned behind Marcus. He turned from the basement light panel and saw a records box leaning out of line, its bottom swollen from old water. The archive had not opened yet. Upstairs, Clara's radio murmured warnings through static. The air was cold enough to sting his palm. The label had been scraped once, then written over. Mercer Family Trust, Historical Donations, 1992 to 1994. Beneath it, in pencil so faint it looked like dust, someone had written 1027. "Marcus?" Clara called from the stairs. "You find my bracket or a ghost?" "Maybe both." She came down with 2 coffees. "Please say bracket. I don't have a budget line for ghosts." He touched the tape. The cut was clean. One flap had been pressed down crooked, and a curl of tape held a gray thread. Clara stopped. "Donation storage. We don't pull those without request." "It's already been pulled." "No, it hasn't." "Then someone wanted it to look asleep." She set the coffees on a cabinet. After last night, step away from this. Marcus opened his wallet. Behind Lena's clinic photo was the only childhood thing he owned, a creased picture of himself at maybe 5, beside a woman whose face had been burned pale by sun. On the back were 4 faded numbers. 1027. Clara looked from the photo to Box. Tell me that is coincidence. I don't like lying to friends. You also don't like making friends nervous before 8. He lifted the first folder. Its tab read, Infant Transfer Review, Bryer County, October. Most pages were photocopies. Some names were under black squares. Near the bottom, stamped in blue ink, was a birth date, October 17th, 1992. The fluorescent tube dimmed. Clara reached for the folder. Marcus. He let her take it. If Vance comes in and finds this open, he will say you tampered with a protected file. He will say that either way. But one version gives him paper. The service door upstairs clicked. Both froze. Clara slid the folder back and turned the label toward the wall. Marcus shut his wallet too fast. The photo bent at one corner. Morning? A clerk called from above. Clara, sheriff's office is on line 2. Clara's eyes stayed on Marcus. Already? He picked up the coffee, though he did not drink. The cup was hot against his thumb. She climbed 3 steps, stopped, and looked toward the corner ceiling. Wait. What? The camera. Above the donations aisle, a small security camera pointed at the work table. A red light blinked every 2 seconds. Clara hurried to the cage office. Marcus followed. The monitor took too long to wake. Blue light spread over Clara's face as she typed her password wrong twice. She pulled up the feed. The image was grainy, time-stamped, 11:43 p.m. A figure in a dark raincoat entered with a keycard and moved straight to shelf D-8, not searching, not hesitating. A gloved hand opened the Mercer box and removed one folder. Clara leaned closer. That's not staff. The figure turned. The face was hidden by the hood, but the badge at the belt caught the infrared light. Clara swallowed. I'm saving this. The archive phone rang again. On the desk, Marcus's bent photograph had landed face up, the 4 numbers showing clearly. 1027 was no longer a memory. It was directions. At 8:03 a.m., the front bell rang before the archive opened. Clara was in the cage office, saving the security clip onto a county drive that whined each time it spun. Marcus stood by shelf D-8 with the Mercer box closed, his bent photograph tucked behind Lena's picture. The basement smelled of dust, concrete, and bitter coffee. The bell rang again. Clara looked up. Do not touch that box. I wasn't. You were thinking about it. Boots crossed the lobby above them. A clerk said, too brightly, Deputy Vance, we open at 9. County business doesn't wait on your sign. Vance came down the stairs with his hat in one hand, his uniform dry despite the rain. Morning, Reed. Basement suits you. Marcus closed his toolbox. Light panel is fixed. I didn't ask about lights. Clara stepped into the aisle. All records requests go through my desk. Good. Then you can watch. He walked to D8. That box is under Foundation custody, Clara said. I need written authorization. Vance smiled. Verbal authorization from the sheriff's office. That isn't a procedure. It is when I say it slowly. Marcus said, What are you looking for? Vance put his hand on the box. The metal clasp snapped open. You tell me. He lifted the infant transfer folder, then 2 more beneath it. Clara's pen scratched across the clipboard. I am documenting removal without a form. Document the weather while you're at it. Vance turned the folder toward Marcus. Closed. Restricted. Yet somehow you were in here before 8, touching things above your pay grade. I repaired a shelf. With a birth file open? The box had already been opened last night. Vance's eyes flicked to the camera. Clara saw it. Vance gathered the folders under his arm. These are evidence. Of what? Marcus asked. Unauthorized access. Possible theft. The smell of mint gum came with him. You've got a habit of being near records that don't belong to you. Clara raised the clipboard. He works here. He fixes shelves here. The words stayed in the aisle. Clara said, I signed his work order. Question me. Vance's face softened. Careful, Clara. This building loses funding every spring. Her pen stopped. Marcus looked at her. It's all right. No, she said. Vance reached for the box itself. You can't, Clara said. Chain of custody. Then write that I did. When he lifted the box, a narrow strip of paper slid from the bottom seam and fluttered under the shelf. Vance didn't notice. Marcus lowered his toolbox, blocking the view, and set one boot beside the strip. Vance leaned close. Stay away from Mercer files. Stay away from old hospital stories. And if Jonah Price contacts you, call me first. I don't feel heroic. Good. Saves trouble. He climbed the stairs with the box. The front door opened, letting in wet air and the smell of leaves, then slammed hard enough to rattle the basement light. Clara whispered, Tell me you saved something. Marcus bent as if tying his boot. The paper strip was soft with age. Typed on it were 3 words and a partial number. Warren discharge copy. The phone on the desk began ringing again. Marcus let it ring while he folded the strip once and slid it behind his daughter's photograph. At 6:37 p.m., Marcus found the porch light already on. He had not turned it on before leaving for the archive. The bulb hummed above the steps, drawing insects into its yellow circle. Lena stood behind him with 2 grocery bags, her breath pale in the cold. Did you forget? She asked. No. On the top step, an old man sat with a wool hat in both hands. His coat was buttoned wrong, rainwater darkening the cuffs. Beside him rested a brown envelope. Marcus kept one hand near Lena. Can I help you? The man rose and gripped the railing. I'm Jonah Price. I worked nights at Bryan County Hospital. We're not buying anything, Lena said. I'm not selling. Jonah glanced at the street. I need 10 minutes before someone tells you I'm confused. Marcus noticed the way he said someone. Lena stepped around her father. You're freezing. I've been worse. That doesn't answer anything. No, ma'am, it doesn't. Inside, the house smelled of onions, wet paper, and tea. Marcus kept Jonah on the rug. He took the envelope but did not untie it. You said hospital, Marcus said. Jonah rubbed a scar on his knuckle. October 1992. A baby boy was moved from the nursery before morning shift. I signed a transfer log because a supervisor said the mother changed facilities. Lena stopped hanging her coat. What does that have to do with my dad? Jonah looked at Marcus's left shoulder. The boy had a dark crescent mark here. Nurse Abigail Stone wrote it down because the bracelet printer jammed twice. The refrigerator motor kicked on. Dad? Lena said. Marcus placed the envelope on the hall table. His fingers had gone clumsy. The string slid under his nail and stung. Many people have birthmarks. Not with your case number written on the back of a photo. Jonah's voice cracked. At the Mercer event, your face was older, but the way you stood with your right foot turned out. Your father stood like that. My father died in a fire, Marcus said. Maybe the man who raised you did. Lena whispered, Raised you? Marcus reached for the wall switch, though the light was already on. His hand stopped there. Jonah untied the envelope himself. The paper smelled like attic dust. He unfolded a letter written in blue ink. Abigail gave me this in 2001. She said if Elaine Mercer ever became powerful enough to call Old Lies charity, I should find the boy. Why wait? Lena asked. Jonah accepted it without flinching. Because I had a pension, a sick wife, and a coward's talent for postponing the day after tomorrow. The sentence sat in the hall. Marcus picked up the letter. Abigail Stone's name was at the bottom. Above it, Caleb Warren was discharged alive at 2:17 a.m. Do not let them seal him twice. Lena moved closer to read, but Marcus folded the page. No, she said. You don't get to protect me from my own house. A car door closed outside. Jonah turned fast, his shoulder hitting the wall. Through the curtain gap, Marcus saw Deputy Vance step from his cruiser under the porch light Marcus had never turned on. Jonah pulled something small from his coat pocket. Then you need to see the rest. In his palm lay a faded hospital bracelet, yellowed at the edges, waiting like a name that had outlived everyone who buried it. The bracelet lay in Jonah's palm for 1 second too long. Lena reached for it, but Marcus caught her wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop the movement. Outside, Vance's shadow crossed the curtain and filled the kitchen window. Put it on the table, Marcus said. Jonah did. The plastic made almost no sound. Still, Lena flinched as if it had cracked tile. Rain ticked against glass. The burner under the soup clicked out. Marcus turned the knob, and the faint smell of gas faded. Vance knocked. Marcus Reed, he called. Open up. Lena stared at the letters. Caleb Warren. That was the name on the nursery card, Jonah said. My father has a birth certificate. I'm sure someone made him one. The knock came again. Lena's spoon trembled in her tea glass. Marcus slid the bracelet closer to her. Take a picture. What? Now? Her thumb missed the camera icon once. The screen flashed white and caught the bracelet, sugar bowl, Jonah's hand. Dad, what is happening? Evidence disappears faster when people are afraid. Jonah whispered. He'll say I stole it. Did you? Lena asked. Yes, from hospital storage. The doorbell rang once. Marcus moved to the hall. The air near the door smelled of wet leaves and metal. He opened it until the chain pulled tight. Vance stood with rain shining on his hat brim. Evening? You were here fast, Marcus said. Small town. Not that small. Vance smiled without warmth. Invite me in. Do you have a warrant? I have a missing witness and a complaint from Mercer Family Trust. Jonah is not missing. He is seated. Then he can walk out. What complaint? Removed county property, harassment, false claims against a protected organization. Those are different things. Behind Marcus, Lena said, What property? Vance leaned toward the gap. Young lady, this is adult business. She is 24, Marcus said. Lena stepped beside him. Her toes curled against the cold floor. What property? Vance looked toward the kitchen table. Whatever he put in your house. Marcus answered before Jonah could. A name. Rain filled the pause. Vance tapped a folded paper against the doorframe. Read this carefully, Marcus, or whatever name you're using tonight. Marcus did not reach for it. Slide it through. That's not how cooperation works. It is how a chain lock works. Vance's jaw tightened. You think being calm makes you look innocent? No, it helps me hear mistakes. Lena's phone buzzed. Clara's name lit the screen, then vanished. Marcus saw it. So did Vance. Answer it, Vance said. No. Marcus said, Send the picture to Clara. Her thumb moved. Vance's radio hissed. A voice mentioned Mercer's office. Vance stepped back to listen. Jonah appeared in the hall, pale under the yellow bulb. "Harold?" Vance looked at him as if dust had touched a clean shirt. "Mr. Price. I gave him what I should have given his mother." The word seemed to take the heat out of the house. Vance folded the paper. "Then you can explain that downtown." He pointed past the chain at Jonah. On the kitchen table, beside the cooling tea, the bracelet turned under the draft from the open door, showing a second line Marcus had not seen before. Discharged 2:17 a.m. The cruiser's back door closed with a soft, padded thud. Jonah sat behind the glass, his hat still in both hands. A wet leaf had stuck to his shoe and come loose on the porch step. "This is not an arrest," Vance said. Lena stood in the doorway with her phone pressed to her chest. "Then why is he in the back seat?" "For his safety." "From who?" Vance's eyes moved to Marcus. "From people who take advantage of old men with stories." Marcus kept his hands visible. The night air cut through his shirt. "You haven't asked him a question." "I'm asking him downtown." "On what authority?" Vance stepped close enough that Marcus smelled rain and mint. "You want to test words with me tonight?" Lena said, "Dad, don't." Vance smiled at her. "Smart girl." Marcus did not move. "She is grown. Then she should understand when to step back." Across the street, Mrs. Harlow's porch light came on. Nobody opened a door. Marcus said, "Leave us a receipt for what you're taking." "I'm taking a witness." "And the paper in your hand?" "Complaint summary." "I want a copy." "You want a lot." Lena's phone buzzed again. "Clara, call me." The message lit her face blue. Vance saw it. "Archive business after hours?" "Personal," Lena said. "Careful. Personal gets complicated fast." Marcus turned toward her. "Go inside. Send the photo to Clara and yourself." "I already did." "Then do it once more." She obeyed. The door closed behind her, just until the latch caught. Vance took Marcus's elbow, public enough to be seen. "You're coming to the station." "As what?" "A witness." "Then say I may leave after a statement." Vance's fingers tightened. "You may leave when we're done." The station hallway smelled of copier heat, old coffee, and wet mats. Sergeant Mila Torres sat behind the desk, 44, broad-shouldered, with silver in her braid. She looked from Vance's hand on Marcus's sleeve to the intake form. "Evening," she said. "What are we doing?" "Interview." "Room 2 is booked." "Then the hall is fine." Marcus sat on a molded plastic bench. Cold pushed through his trousers. A vending machine hummed beside him. Jonah was led past by another deputy. His eyes met Marcus's. "I'm sorry," Jonah said. Vance snapped, "Keep moving." Mila's pen stopped halfway down the log. Marcus spoke quietly. "Sergeant, am I free to go?" Vance answered. "Don't play courthouse." "I asked her." Mila looked at Vance. "Is he detained?" "He's involved in a records complaint." "That isn't an answer." Vance bent close to Marcus. "A man without clean roots should be grateful when the county lets him keep the name he's using." The sentence landed softly. That made it worse. Marcus's fingers went to his wallet. The photograph was gone. He could not breathe around the empty pocket. Lena had it. He remembered. Still, his fingers searched the seam once more. Mila saw. "Deputy," she said. "My desk. Now." His radio hissed. "Vance, Mercer office called. They want confirmation the bracelet is secured." Marcus lifted his head. Mila slowly turned toward him. "Bracelet?" In Marcus's pocket, his phone vibrated once. A message from Lena appeared on the cracked screen. "I sent it to Clara." "And Dad." There's another number under the discharge time. By 10:26 p.m., the archive basement had only one light left on. Lena stood over the microfilm reader with her coat zipped to her throat. Rain tapped the high window wells. Clara had locked the front door, and the radio was low enough that storm warnings sounded like someone talking in another room. "Read it again," Lena said. Clara adjusted the focus knob. The machine gave a grinding sound. County Hospital Discharge Ledger, October 17, 1992. Infant male. Bracelet number 1, 027-4B. That's the number under the time. Part of it. Lena laid her phone beside the glass plate. The kitchen photo glowed blue. Warren, Caleb. Discharged 2:17 a.m. Under the curve of plastic, half hidden by Jonah's thumb, was 1027-4B. Clara did not touch the screen. "Lena!" "No, keep going." "You understand what this means?" "It means my father was a baby. It means someone filed him in 2 directions." The reader's light painted Clara's face pale. "Find the death record," Lena said. The reel spun forward. Names slid by, gray and ghostly. A cart creaked somewhere above them, though no one else should have been inside. "There," Clara whispered. Infant Warren. Caleb. Male. Status: deceased. Filed. October 18th. Lena braced one hand on the table. "That's the day after." Clara pointed lower. "Look at the certification line." The doctor's name had been typed cleanly, but the ink stamp was dated October 21st. 3 days later, Lena said. A death record filed before the stamp that certified it. Clara pulled a notepad closer. "That is constructed." Lena's phone buzzed. "Dad, are you home?" She typed, "At Clara's. Safe." Then Marcus wrote, "Don't stay alone." Lena looked at the dark aisles. Too late. Clara took the phone and typed, "She is with me. I am documenting everything." The answer came at once. "Thank you." Lena pressed her palms together. He knew how to ask if he was free to go. He knew Vance was making mistakes. "Your father has always known procedure better than a maintenance man should. He never told me. Maybe he couldn't. Or maybe everyone keeps deciding what I can survive." Clara had no answer. The archive phone rang upstairs. Both women turned. It rang twice, then stopped. A moment later, Clara's cell lit with an unknown Columbus number. She mouthed, "State office." "Answer," Lena said. Clara put it on speaker. "Bennett." A man's voice came through, clipped and tired. "Thomas Greer, Ohio Records Integrity Commission. You left urgent messages." Clara's eyes closed. "I have an altered infant transfer record tied to Mercer Family Trust." The line went still. Then Greer said, "Who is with you?" "Lena Reed." "Marcus Reed's daughter?" Lena leaned toward the phone. "How do you know my father?" Papers moved on Greer's end. "First, confirm one thing. Does the file mention Caleb Warren?" The microfilm reader hummed between them. Lena looked at the gray record on the screen, at the name her father had not known how to carry. "Yes," she said, "and someone marked him dead before they finished proving it." Greer exhaled. "Then listen carefully. Do not let Deputy Vance touch that copy, and do not call Mercer. The man you know as Marcus Reed once helped us find files exactly like this." Thomas Greer went quiet long enough for the archive pipes to knock above Lena's head. "What do you mean he helped you?" she asked. Clara stood by the basement door, phone on speaker. The microfilm reader hummed behind them, washing the death record in gray light. "Not over an unsecured line," Greer said. "Deputy Vance removed a Mercer box without a form," Clara said. "We have video." Make 2 copies. Keep one out of the archive. We saved it on the county drive. That is the first place they will look. Lena stared at the bracelet photo until Warren blurred. Is my father in trouble? No, Greer said. He was protected. The word made the basement colder. Protected from whom? Clara asked. From people who made placements look like public mistakes. From administrators who turned missing children into closed files. Lena pressed her knuckles to her lips. Did he know? Not all of it. Years ago, he worked with us under restricted clearance. He saw altered records faster than auditors. We never knew why. What name did he use? Clara asked. Greer hesitated. M.R. Calloway. Lena shook her head. My dad fixes shelves, and notices when one shelf has moved half an inch. Her phone vibrated. Marcus, going home soon. Stay with Clara. Lena typed, we found Greer. The dots appeared, vanished, then returned. Marcus wrote, do exactly what he says. Across town, Elaine Mercer stood in her dark office. Noah Carr waited by the door, tablet to his chest. Did Vance secure it? Elaine asked. He took Price in. Reed was questioned, but the daughter sent a photograph. Photographs can be dismissed. Not if Greer gets involved. Elaine turned. Why say that name? Because Columbus called the archive line. I saw the donor log. She crossed to him. That file was a clerical tragedy. Then why did we ask Vance to get the bracelet? We asked him to retrieve stolen property. Whose property is a baby's hospital bracelet? For the first time, Elaine had no answer. Her phone lit. Vance. Tell me it's done. Reed doesn't have it, Vance said. The daughter took a picture. Torres heard bracelet. Then keep Torres out of it. She's writing things down. If Greer calls, deny direct contact with my office. A pause. Your office called me 3 times tonight. And you answered as a public servant. Noah's tablet slipped. Its case tapped his ring with a small, clean sound. At 11:14 p.m., Clara copied the security video, microfilm images, and bracelet photo onto a flash drive. The progress bar moved so slowly, Lena heard her own breathing. Greer stayed on speaker. I'm driving to Briar Falls now. That's over 2 hours, Clara said. Then you have 2 hours to remain inconvenient. The computer chimed. Copy complete. Clara handed the drive to Lena. Not in your purse, not in your coat. Lena slid it into the hollow handle of Marcus's toolbox. Greer said, if your father is released, do not let him go to Mercer's office alone. The basement door above them clicked. Clara reached for the lamp. Lena stopped her with 2 fingers. Footsteps crossed the lobby. Someone tested the locked gate. Clara? A man whispered. It's Noah Carr, please. I have copies Elaine doesn't know about. At 9:08 a.m., the room smelled of wet coats, toner, and lemon polish. Marcus sat at the front table with his hands around a paper cup. Across the aisle, Vance stood beside Elaine Mercer. Lena entered with Clara at her shoulder. Marcus saw the toolbox first. She carried it with both hands. You slept? He asked. No. You ate? She gave him a look. Hostile question. Judge Marin Holt came through a side door. 61. Gray hair at her jaw. She set one folder down until the room obeyed. This is an emergency review, she said. Not a trial. Anyone who forgets can wait outside. Vance leaned back. Your Honor, a county employee accessed restricted materials, encouraged an elderly man with memory issues, and created confusion around a sealed file. Marcus did not turn. Let him finish. Vance looked pleased. Mr. Reed has no legal connection to the Warren matter. He fixes shelves and has unusual interest in records beyond his position. The microphone in front of Marcus was dark. Everyone discussed his life while his own table had no sound. Judge Holt noticed. She clicked it on. The red light appeared. "Now he has a microphone," she said. Elaine spoke before Vance could. "The Foundation has always honored families. We object to stolen medical artifacts being used to damage trust in our work." Lena stood. Marcus touched her sleeve once. "My father didn't steal anything," she said. "He asked for a warrant, a receipt, and one question no one here has answered." Judge Holt looked over her glasses. "Which question?" Why was Mercer Family Trust calling Vance about a bracelet before anyone entered it into evidence? A low rustle moved through the room. Lena opened the toolbox. Metal scraped metal. She removed a flash drive, a bracelet photo, the archive log, and 3 microfilm stills. Her fingers shook only when she put down the death record. Clara stepped forward. "I can authenticate the log and video," Vance said. "She is compromised." Clara's chin lifted. "Because I wrote down what you did?" The side door opened. Thomas Greer entered with a state commission folder. Rain had dried in pale lines on his jacket. "Mr. Reed," he said softly. Marcus's fingers tightened around the cup. Greer faced the judge. "Thomas Greer, Ohio Records Integrity Commission. I request these materials be placed under state hold immediately." Elaine's face went blank. "On what basis?" Greer laid a document beside Lena's copies. "This file connects to a protected investigation involving falsified infant transfer records." Vance laughed once. "Protected? He fixes shelves." Greer turned to him. "He also found more altered closures in 6 months than your county found in 30 years. The room thinned into stillness. Lena whispered, "Dad?" Marcus looked at the microphone light, glowing red now, and did not answer. Greer opened his folder. Before he was Marcus Reed, this office knew him under restricted clearance as M.R. Calloway. Elaine's hand slipped from the table edge. "And before either name," Greer said, "the original hospital record identifies him as Caleb Warren." The paper cup collapsed in Marcus's hand, and cold water spread across the table toward the name he had not heard spoken in public until now. Water from Marcus's cup crawled toward Greer's folder before anyone moved. Lena grabbed napkins. Clara lifted the microfilm stills. Judge Holt watched the line stop short of the birth record, then said, "Pause." Vance stepped forward. "Your Honor, this is theatrical." Greer turned one page. "No, this is paper surviving people who wished it wouldn't." Elaine Mercer sat straight. Noah Carr stood behind her with a sealed envelope pressed to his ribs. Marcus stared at the projected record. Caleb Warren. Born October 17, 1992. Discharged 2:17 a.m. His thumb found the name before he realized he touched the copy. The paper was damp at one corner. He did not smile. Lena whispered, "Dad." He looked at her. "I'm here." "You're also there." She pointed to the screen. Judge Holt leaned toward Greer. "Explain the conflict." "A living discharge record," Greer said. "A death filing created the next day, and a certification stamp dated 3 days later. The sequence cannot be true." Vance folded his arms. "Old hospitals made mistakes." "They did, but mistakes do not call deputies 34 years later." Judge Holt looked at Jonah Price. "Mr. Price." Jonah stood, his jacket hanging loose. "I signed the night transfer log," Elaine said. "He admitted removing property." "Sit down, Ms. Mercer." Jonah's voice scraped. Nurse Abigail Stone wrote the mark on the baby's shoulder by hand. Dark crescent. Left side. His eyes dropped. I was told the infant was being moved because the mother was unstable. Who told you? Greer asked. Elaine's predecessor, and Elaine brought the form. Elaine's lips parted. I was 24. I carried papers. Jonah gripped the chair back. You said, if this child stays in the public ledger, the placement collapses. I remember because I did not know what placement meant. Vance shook his head. A sentence from 30 years ago? Noah stepped out. Not just a sentence. He laid the envelope on the table. Copies from Foundation storage. Every time we digitized old files, she told me to delete the Warren folder manually. Greer read the first page. Order to close inquiry. Signed Elaine Mercer. Elaine's chair scraped. That was after review. Projected, Judge Holt said. The clerk placed it under the camera. Elaine's signature filled the screen beneath a line authorizing the case to be sealed as a clerical death correction. Marcus looked at Jonah. You knew my mother? Jonah nodded once. Ruth Warren. She came back with a blue blanket. They told her there had been complications. She asked to see you. The room seemed to lose heat. And? Marcus asked. Jonah's face folded around the answer. They would not let her. Lena's hand found Marcus's shoulder. He pressed his thumb to the name again, as if checking whether ink could have a pulse. Judge Holt removed her glasses. These records are under state custody. Deputy Vance, surrender related materials. Ms. Mercer, do not contact Foundation staff. Elaine whispered, You are destroying a lifetime of service. Marcus finally turned toward her. No, we are reading it. Outside the narrow windows, morning light hit the wet courthouse steps. On the screen, the name Caleb Warren remained larger than every person in the room. At 3:32 p.m., the badge made almost no sound when Vance set it on the conference table. He seemed to expect a heavier note, something that would make the room look up. Instead, the small metal star touched laminate with a dull click and sat beside his phone, 2 pens, and a paper cup he had not opened. Sergeant Mila Torres stood by the door with her arms folded. Temporary administrative suspension, she said. Pending review. Vance looked at Marcus. You happy? Marcus sat across from him with Lena on his left and Greer on his right. No. That answer took the heat out of Vance's face for a second. Elaine Mercer was not in uniform, but she looked as if something official had been removed from her too. Her cream suit had a coffee stain near the cuff. Noah Carr sat 3 chairs away from her, shoulders rounded, his tablet flat on the table like a shield he no longer trusted. Judge Holt's clerk passed out copies of the preliminary findings. Paper whispered from hand to hand. Greer read from the first page. Improper removal of restricted archive materials. Unauthorized contact between Mercer Family Trust and Deputy Harold Vance. Failure to log medical artifact. Attempted suppression of witness testimony. Vance leaned back. Attempted? I brought Price in safely. Muila answered before anyone else. You put an elderly witness in a cruiser without recording his statement, then questioned another man in a hallway with no status. He was involved. You never decided how. The air smelled of toner and stale raincoats. Marcus noticed a brown leaf caught under the table leg, crushed flat by someone's shoe. Elaine lifted her copy with 2 fingers. This language suggests intention where there was confusion. Noah gave a small laugh. It frightened him more than anyone else. Elaine turned. Noah. He did not look at her. You told me to purge the Warren scans every December. That is not what I said. You said, if a file can hurt the living, it has no reason to survive. Her hand tightened around the paper. Greer slid a recorder toward Noah. "For the record, Mr. Carr." Noah's throat moved. "I kept backups." Elaine closed her eyes. "In my apartment," Noah said, "on 2 drives. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was only waiting for someone else to be brave first." Lena looked down at the table. Her fingers rested on Marcus's sleeve, not gripping now, just there. Marcus asked, "Are there other names?" Noah nodded once. 14 folders, maybe more in the old offsite storage. The number moved through the room more quietly than a shout. Judge Holt's clerk stopped writing for half a beat. Marcus looked at Greer. "Then this is not mine anymore." "It was always yours," Lena said. He turned to her. She swallowed. "But not only yours." Vance pushed back his chair. "So now he's the saint of old paperwork?" Mela stepped forward. "Sit down." "I'm suspended, not mute." Marcus's voice stayed low. "You used my daughter to make me step back." Vance looked away. "You called her young lady after she gave her age," Marcus continued. "You threatened Clara's funding. You called Jonah confused before he spoke. That is not paperwork." For the first time, Vance had no quick line ready. His thumb brushed the edge of the badge, then stopped short of touching it. Elaine stood. "I will cooperate through counsel." Greer nodded. "You will also provide access to Foundation storage by 5. My board has not approved. State hold does not ask your board." Noah reached into his bag and placed a ring of keys on the table. "North building, lower file room, cabinet 6 sticks at the bottom." Elaine looked at him as if he had stepped out of her life in public. Marcus rose slowly. His knees felt older than they had that morning. "Before anyone opens those cabinets, the families should be treated like people, not discoveries." Greer studied him. "What are you asking for?" "No cameras at their doors. No calls from deputies. No Foundation letters pretending concern after 34 years of silence." Lena's hand slid into his. "And Jonah?" she asked. Mila said, "Released. He's with Clara. She made him soup and is pretending it was no trouble." Something almost softened Marcus's mouth. The badge remained on the table when they left. In the hallway, a woman Marcus did not know stood beside the payphone, holding one of the preliminary copies with both hands. She looked up at him. "My brother's name is in one of those boxes, isn't it?" Marcus stopped walking, and the answer he wanted to give was not the one he had. By Monday morning, the schedule beside the archive break room was gone. For years, it had hung under a yellow pushpin. Custodial routes, lunch rotations, names crossed out when budgets changed. In its place, Clara smoothed a clean sheet titled Family Records Review Protocol. The same yellow pushpin waited between her teeth. Marcus stood with Lena behind her. The archive smelled of fresh ink, cardboard, and cinnamon gum. "Higher on the left," Lena said. Clara shifted the page. "Like this? Now it looks official." "It looked official before. Now it looks like it won't fall." Marcus took the pin and pressed it through the corner. The corkboard gave with a dry pop. Thomas Greer watched with Judge Holt, Sergeant Torres, and 2 commissioners who kept phones face down. Greer opened a folder. Every sealed infant transfer, closed adoption correction, and missing child death filing tied to private agencies will be checked by independent reviewers. One commissioner nodded. "And the hotline goes live Friday." "Wednesday," Lena said. He blinked. "Wednesday? The families have already waited long enough." Torres almost smiled. Marcus read the first line. No case may be closed without living witness verification, duplicate archive review, and written family notice. Clara handed him a marker. "You should sign first." I am not staff in that department. You are the reason it exists. No, Marcus said. The boxes are. Lena touched the page. And the people inside them. No one corrected her. At 10, the first call came through on the temporary hotline. Its ring was small and nervous. Everyone looked at it. Marcus did not pick it up. Clara did. Briar Falls Family Records Review. This is Clara Bennett. She listened. The clerk stopped chewing. Yes, ma'am, Clara said. You can give only your first name. We'll write it exactly as you say it. Cabinet 6 from Mercer Storage had arrived under state seal. 14 folders lay in a locked evidence bin, each with a name not yet returned to a mouth. Judge Holt approached Marcus. Mr. Reed, I owe you an apology for how long the county let a private foundation write public memory. You owe the family's procedure. That too. Then start there. She accepted it with a small nod. By noon, Elaine Mercer's resignation had reached every inbox. Vance's suspension had become formal pending review. The news moved through the archive in whispers, but Marcus kept sorting damaged boxes. A loose shelf still needed a bracket. Lena found him in aisle D with a screwdriver in his hand. You don't have to do that today. If I leave it, someone will stack too much weight on it. Dad. He turned. She held a new badge on a lanyard. Marcus Reed / Caleb Warren, Family Records Liaison. I told them no title. I know. They changed one word. He stared at the two names. The plastic was warm from her hand. I don't know how to wear both. You don't have to decide today. Outside, the courthouse bell struck 12. Marcus clipped the badge to his jacket, then straightened the new protocol once. The hotline rang again. This time, before Clara could reach it, Marcus picked up. Briar Falls Family Records Review, he said. Tell me the name you have been carrying. 3 months later, the hospital bracelet lay inside a shallow frame on Marcus's kitchen table. Lena had bought the frame near the clinic. She had chosen plain wood, no gold edge, no plate. Beside it rested a new key, a birthday photograph, and Jonah Price's letter. Marcus stood over the table with a screwdriver in one hand. You're allowed to close it, Lena said. I know. You've been saying that for 6 minutes. He adjusted the tiny metal tab. The bracelet shifted under the glass, showing the faded line again. Discharged 2:17 a.m. It spent long enough sealed by other people, he said. Lena pulled out the chair across from him. Afternoon light moved through the curtains in pale squares. The room smelled of lemon soap, coffee, and the soup Clara had left before pretending she was not checking on them. Marcus opened Jonah's letter one more time. Mr. Reed, or Mr. Warren, whichever name lets you sleep. I am sorry I waited until my hands were old to do what they should have done young. Below that, Jonah had written Ruth Warren's name and the cemetery address. He had underlined it once. You want to go today? Lena asked. Not today. Okay. Soon. Across town, Elaine Mercer's name had been removed from the foundation door. The board accepted her resignation after the state report listed suppressed records and private interference with public files. She was barred from family records work while the civil review continued. Deputy Vance was reassigned, then dismissed after Torres's statement, and the hallway recording confirmed what his paperwork left out. Noah Carr became a witness instead of a headline. He took a lower job with the County Digitization Project, scanning files under Clara's supervision. Every Friday, he brought his own lunch and ate alone until Clara placed a second chair beside her desk. At the archive, the hotline kept ringing. Some calls lasted 2 minutes. Some lasted an hour. The new protocol required 2 reviewers, family notice, and state oversight before any old case could be closed again. Judge Holt signed the first public report in blue ink, and Thomas Greer made sure it named the system before it named the scandal. Marcus read every returned name quietly. Once, after a woman from Dayton heard that her sister's file had been reopened, she asked, "Who do I thank?" Marcus looked through the glass wall at Lena helping Clara label Cabinet 6. "Start with whoever kept asking," he said. That evening, Lena brought home a photograph from the recovered Warren file. It showed Ruth Warren on courthouse steps, young and unsmiling, holding a blue baby blanket to her chest. Marcus touched the edge, not the face. "She looks angry," Lena said. "She looks like she knew the room was lying. Do you wish you had known her?" He did not answer quickly. Outside, leaves scratched along the porch. The old heater clicked, tried, and finally stayed on. "Yes," he said, "and I wish she had known you." Lena wiped the corner of the frame with her sleeve. "She would have liked me. She would have asked if you ate lunch." Then yes, definitely family. Marcus laughed once, small and rough. He set the bracelet frame beside the birthday photo, not above it. Then he placed the new key between them. 2 names, 1 table, 1 home. When he finally pressed the back closed, the glass caught the last light and held it. If this story stayed with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever seen someone dismissed, ignored, or judged before the truth was finally heard? Tell us what happened and what you wish someone had done sooner. Share this story with someone who believes dignity matters, especially when a quiet person is standing against a system that refuses to listen. And subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet strength, family secrets, and the kind of change that begins when one person refuses to let the truth stay buried. Thank you for watching until the end.